And then the closer I got to being cast as Obi-Wan, the more I wanted to do it. You know, I was such a great fan of the original films as a child, and I felt like I just wanted to be part of that. If I could be part of that, then I would want to do that.
Meanwhile,
I don't think I said anything, actually. Deb told me I had the job, and honestly, I think I probably was like, okay.
thanks.
I think that's how it went.
Meanwhile,
is Star Wars going in the right direction with the Obi-Wan Kenobi show that is gonna premiere in just a week or so? I'm not too sure based on this article by Vanity Fair and the first two videos that you just saw. So in this video, as you see by the title, we are going to talk about the Vanity Fair article, where I have some thoughts. There is so much information, but there is also not much new things that we learn from it, because it's the same old, you know. Others are to blame, George Lucas' legacy is honored, you know, all those things, and it's like, nah, it's not. You're lying. You're always lying. So why would we believe you? I don't know. I feel like Star Wars is not yet there where I can say things are starting to get better, because the book of Boba Fett was just awful. It was a train wreck. It was awful. I don't know why it even happened. There was no reason for it, and it was really awful. Mando has been postponed with like 2 years. Based on the article, it might come later 2022 or early 2023, but the last season was when, 2020 or 2021? I don't know. Everything is being mixed in my head. Oh yeah, it was 2020 actually, because last year we got the Book of Boba Fett. Oh my god, that's great. So I don't know, guys, it's a lot. And let's start with the article. And the first thing I want to talk about is Caitlin Kennedy, because she is the Sith Lord. And actually, I don't want to disrespect Sith Lords by saying that she's a Sith Lord, because she's really not a good person to lead Star Wars. So I'm gonna quote and read a lot. I'm gonna paraphrase maybe most of the time, but let's start. So Kennedy's primary goal was to rejuvenate Star Wars with a new era of films after a trilogy of prequels that underwhelmed many fans. Yeah, of course, as always, shitting on the prequels, because I mean, if you make something look very, very bad, the next thing you say or present, it's gonna look better, and this is what they do. Afterwards, they say, by the end of 2015, Han, Leia, and Luke were back on the big screen in J.J. Abrams' The Force Awakens. I'm sorry, I missed the part where we got Han, Leia, and Luke back together. I really missed that. Is that an alternative universe where we actually got them on the big screen? Because I think I missed that. And okay, we got Han and Leia, but only for Han to be killed by his son. I guess that's good Star Wars, guys. Yay. Stupid. Later, they say the movies all earned billions. I think we missed to say that every movie earned less and less than the previous one. And every movie from Star Wars, I guess now, I'm not too sure, but back in the day, every movie with Star Wars on it, it's gonna earn at least $1 billion, because it's Star Wars. It's not because Caitlin Kennedy was involved in it, or we get a Rey Palpatine. It's no. So she further says, we all recognized, every single one of us, that this is a new chapter for the company, and that we all need to work together to create the architecture for where we were going. You realize that 7 years later, after the sequels, you just realized you need to have a plan. I feel like this is all intentional, because they cannot be that stupid. I cannot comprehend that they cannot be that stupid, guys. This is Star Wars, and you just made Force Awakens, and then you were like, well, now it's time for someone else to take it. I'm like, and it's not just about that, you know, that someone else took it. You made shitty movies. It doesn't matter who did it, because The Rise of Skywalker is again by J.J. Abrams, and he was like, what? You know? Then later she says, the most important lesson that we learned was this: Star Wars required a greater degree of professional devotion from filmmakers. Anyone who comes into the Star Wars universe needs to know that this is a 3, 4, 5 years commitment. Oh, duh. I mean, she says, that's what it takes. You can't step in for a year and shoot something and then walk away. It requires that kind of nurturing. She like everything she says, she's blaming others for her own failure. So when it comes to movies, they didn't say a lot, but she said, we have a roadmap. No, you don't, but okay. And she just talked about the Taika Waititi movie that is gonna be the first one to come out. I don't have faith in that at all. And then have Rogue Squadron that is further off, that I don't care about. And why are you announcing titles years in advance when you're not gonna even like make them? It's just stupid. And the last thing I guess I'm gonna say about Caitlyn Kennedy specifically, you know, she said something like, and not every classic character can be brought back endlessly anyway. No shit, Sherlock. She also talked about Jon Favreau and the fact that apparently there was a Boba Fett film that was actually directed by James Mangold. I think I've heard that name. That Jon Favreau first came up with the idea that there should be a movie about Boba Fett, which is fine, you know, why not? But apparently she's saying that Favreau and Filoni, there were some behind the scenes tensions. So she says, Favreau and Filoni were friendly, but Kennedy feared the turf war might erupt. She devised a fix. I arranged a play date. These are not children. I feel like this is so disrespectful to Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. I cannot comprehend this. But when it comes to The Mandalorian, Filoni says Yoda's home world and backstory were never really revealed it, and Filoni wanted to protect the mystery that Lucas built around the original Jedi Master. And this is the first correct thing that I get from this article. Everything else has been such a big ball of nothing and a lot of BS, and I think that this is the first thing that I'm like, yeah, Filoni, good for you, you know. At least someone honors something. It's ridiculous. So some more information on The Mandalorian when it comes to Pedro Pascal. The article says that means that Pedro Pascal can sometimes play the role as a voice actor because he has to wear the mask, right? While a stand-in wears the armor, which frees him to accept other projects. Maybe I'm a little bit of a commitment phobe, he says, because you're a 5-year-old, because you're not like a 4-year-old man. Because the coolness of it really excites me and the lifespan of it really intimidates me. I swear, Pedro Pascal, at first I thought he's such a cool, you know, person. I don't want to say person because I don't know them personally, so I cannot really comment on that. But he is such a soy boy. I cannot even comprehend that. The next thing I want to talk about is the Obi-Wan show. So Ewan McGregor was hesitant at first, as we can see from the article, but he enjoyed seeing people in sleeping bags pulling an all-nighter with his movies. Kids who had grown up with the prequels weren't as cynical as the critics. A few reviewers had even begun to reappraise them. People loved him as Obi-Wan, which made McGregor realize that he did too. I love that, you know, that he actually cares about the fans, about, you know, about the role, because nowadays actors, when it comes to Star Wars and big franchises like The Lord of the Rings, they're just platforms, you know, for them to express their views on the world. And it's okay. Lucasfilm intended to make Obi-Wan as a movie, interesting, to be directed by Oscar nominee Stephen Daldry. McGregor wanted to be a producer this time. This would be actually a very good idea, I think, giving him more to say over the story. I just said I think that it should be a story about a broken man, a man who's lost his faith. He says he always has a funny line to say, or always seems to be calm and is a good warrior or soldier or whatever. But to see that man come apart and see what gets him back together again, that's where we started. And actually, I get why Obi-Wan would be depressed and sad and broken, but I just want him to get himself back together, and it seems like Ewan McGregor wants that too, you know. He wants to see how Obi-Wan gets to be the mighty hero he once was, you know. Have your moment, your time for grieving, because Anakin and Padme, they were kind of his family, Anakin and Ahsoka, and he lost all of that, and the Jedi as well. And I want to see Obi-Wan become the beacon of hope again, because as Ewan McGregor says, he always has something fun to say. He's always very calm and collected, and to see him, I don't know, like a broken man for the whole 6 episodes. I think that Obi-Wan Kenobi is gonna have 6 episodes. It's gonna be, I think, just a bad thing to do. And then you have some sentences about Hayden Christensen. So Deborah Chow said to Hayden that Vader would add a new dimension that could ultimately reframe the way fans look at their classic duo in the original movie. I don't know if they can do that justice. I doubt that, but maybe. A lot of my conversations with Deborah were about wanting to convey this feeling of strength, but also coupled with imprisonment. I think that Darth Vader has always been like a tragic hero or anti-hero, I would say now, because yes, he is very strong, but he is imprisoned in himself, with the suit and everything. He's like Palpatine's puppet, but also his own thing, and he's battling with himself. He further says there is this power and vulnerability, and I think that's an interesting space to explore. And I think that this can either be great or the biggest Star Wars failure. Yeah, there's no middle ground. What intrigued her was the idea that despite what Vader had become, Kenobi might still care deeply about him, which is he does. Even in A New Hope, he still had feelings of, he was my brother, I don't know how you could not, she says. I don't think he ever will not care about him. What's special about their relationship is that they loved each other, and that is the truth. There is nothing else but the truth when it comes to this. And as I said, this can either be amazing or the biggest Star Wars failure, and there is nothing more. I cannot, because you have to do this right. If you don't, I think that this will be the last straw for many people, including myself. Because this is not a character like Andor. I'm sorry, I don't want to insult anyone, but you cannot just, you can do whatever you want with Andor. Like, make him like a side character in his own show, which I'm gonna talk about this as well. But these are Obi-Wan Kenobi, Anakin Skywalker / Darth Vader. You cannot mess these characters. You just cannot. You cannot make Darth Vader some whiny little B-word, you just cannot. And I think that's pretty self-evident why you cannot. This is Darth freaking Vader. And there are a few lines for the Ahsoka show. The quest Ahsoka has hinted at in her quest appearances in Mando and Boba Fett, hunting an Imperial Grand Admiral named Thrawn who vanished into deep space at the conclusion of the animated Rebels series, is likely to be explored further, which is fine, although plot details are still being tightly held. Ahsoka is a continuous story Filoni offers. It is definitely driving toward the goal in my mind, as opposed to being a little singular adventures. That's what I want the character to be doing, and I think that's what fans want now. I'm open to anything with Ahsoka. I do love the character, but it's just not someone that I'm the the biggest fan of, you know. I do care, but it's not to the point where you it's a sacred character, you know. It's not like Darth Vader or Obi-Wan. And the thing that I'm taking from this is there is gonna be like a big event, because he says it is definitely driving toward the goal. So apparently we did get those rumors like a year ago, where you had the show with Gina Carano, the Rangers of the New Republic, and Mando, and all of these shows that are gonna, you know, come together like an end game type of event. But we'll see. If it's done well, why not? I don't mind it, and I don't have any expectations about Ahsoka. So I just hope they do her justice. One of the last things I want to talk about is about Andor. So Andor apparently is like the Star Wars Underworld show that was in development like years ago, that was meant to explore the Coruscant's underworld, where there is like a lot of crime and stuff, and it would be between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. And I think that this could have been great, and many people say that this what the Boba Fett show should have been like, which is awesome. I mean, it really sounds like a good idea. The writer of the show, Ronald D. Moore, said that there is a lot of action, lots of sets and huge set pieces, just much bigger than what you would normally do in television, and that seems great. Someone also described it as like a Godfather type of show, and I mean, come on, why not? But the thing that worries me when it comes to Andor is that they describe it as a refugee story. And so the writer says, or the director, his adopted home will become the base of our first season, and we watch that place become radicalized. Then we see another planet that's completely taken apart in a colonial kind of way. And I feel like this is like a huge platform for them to preach about, you know, social issues. And obviously George Lucas had a lot of topics about politics and democracy and all of these things, but he did it in a way that's not in your face. And this is like a universal truth, you know, good versus bad. But now I feel like there is so much gray area in shows, and they use it as a platform to preach to you on every topic that exists. And I don't think that this is gonna be a good idea. And also they say that in Andor, Mon Mothma story is gonna run parallel to the title character, and it's gonna be her story, but it's Andor's story, but it's gonna be as well her story. So I mean, it's gonna be her show, which I don't really care, because why are you making an Andor story? I don't understand this. And also the last thing I want to talk about is The Acolyte by Harvey Weinstein's secretary. She's making a Star Wars show called The Acolyte, as I already said. I must say, Russian Doll was pretty good in season 1. Season 2 was the main actress, the main character was just so annoying and insufferable. So I'm scared. So they're looking at the time period before the Phantom Menace. And she says that my question when watching the Phantom Menace was like, well, how did things get to this point? How did we get to the point where Sith Lord can't infiltrate the Senate and all of the Jedi pick up on it? Like, what went wrong? What are the scenarios that led to this moment? I agree that this sounds actually pretty good. But later what stands out to me is, so we actually use the term the Renaissance or the Age of Enlightenment before the Phantom Menace. She says, Jedis were not always ascetic, I don't know what that means, monk-like figures living selflessly and bravely. The Jedi universe are gold and white, and it's almost like they would never get dirty, they would never be out and about, Headland says. The idea is that they could have these types of universe because that's how little they're getting into skirmishes. And I think that this says to me, like, they're gonna make the Jedi this type of elitist assholes. and I'm not okay with that. Yes, the Jedi are very egoistic. I mean, they have big egos, but they're coming from a good place, and I think that the acolyte is just gonna change the way how Jedi are perceived, and I'm just scared. The Force is not with this. But I also might be wrong about everything that I'm saying. We just have to wait and see, and I really just have to wait and see, because so far I'm not impressed. Kathleen Kennedy should go. I don't know why she's still there. Disney Plus is not getting as many subscribers as they want, as it seems, and their stock is down. So whatever they're doing, it's not working. So I don't know why they're still on this course. And if they keep producing shows that have like 6 or 8 episodes, that doesn't work. It worked for Mando, but any other show that tried it, it doesn't work. So change it and fire Kathleen Kennedy. And do let me know down below, what did you think about the article? What do you think about the future of Star Wars? Are you hopeful? Are you pessimistic? Because aren't we all pessimistic at this point? I will see you in the next video, and as always, may the Force be with you.